The Iranian Revolution of 1978 to 1979 heralded a turbulent time in world politics, prompting the coming to power of the Islamic leader Ayatollah Khomeini and the overthrow of the Shah, who left the country in 1979. The change in ruler had particular ramifications for the US, which had long supported the Shah's regime. When the ailing Shah requested permission to visit the US for medical reasons, the Iranian reaction was one of anger. A hastily planned protest was organized by a group of militant Iranian students, calling themselves the Muslim student followers of the IMAM'S line, but it soon snowballed into something much more significant. Early in the morning of the 4th of November 1979, the group stormed the American diplomatic mission in Tehran to voice their objections to US influence in Iran. Unexpectedly finding themselves strongly supported by the Ayatollah, now dubbed the supreme leader of Iran, the students extended their protest, which swiftly developed into a hostage situation. Initially, 63 US diplomats and 3 other US citizens were held hostage, with 6 other US diplomats escaping during the confusion, taking refuge in the nearby Canadian and Swedish embassies until finally leaving the country using Canadian passports in January 1980. Most of the women, and all but one of the African Americans, 13 hostages altogether, were released a few weeks later amidst hostage-taker declarations of solidarity with other oppressed minorities and the special place of women in Islam. The 52 remaining hostages were in for the long haul, however, their ordeal eventually lasting 444 days. During their time in captivity, the hostages were described by their captors as guests of the Ayatollah, but their treatment did not reflect such a claim. Blindfolded, they would be paraded before the crowds and media outside, and much of the time they were separated from each other and kept in solitary confinement. In the US, President Jimmy Carter decided against a violent response, preferring to appeal for the hostages' release on humanitarian grounds. Then he sought to put economic and diplomatic pressure on the country by ending oil imports from Iran in November 1979 and freezing Iranian assets held in the US. Foreign diplomats and ambassadors were allowed to visit the hostages, and through them, hostage Bruce Langham was able to convey messages to the US government. With the crisis stretching out with no foreseeable end in sight, Carter eventually decided more assertive action was called for. In April 1980, he gave the green light to a rescue attempt, resulting in the failed Operation Eagle Claw. The botched operation, which featured helicopters breaking down and another one crashing in the Great Salt Desert, cost the lives of 5 US airmen and 3 Marines, and in all probability, Carter's own presidential career. The November 1980 election saw Carter removed from the White House in a landslide victory for Ronald Reagan, and the political stars fell into alignment, with all the hostages released on the 21st of January 1981, minutes after Reagan was formally sworn in as president, the timing of which still fuels conspiracy theories to this day. Little Bohemia Lodge, Manitowish Waters, Wisconsin, the glamorously named hideout of one John Dillinger and his gang during April 1934. Dillinger was one of the US's most notorious bank robbers, with a lifetime haul totaling around $300,000, a huge sum in Depression-era America. The previous month he had absconded from prison yet again, this time from the supposedly escape-proof Crown Point, Indiana County Jail. To add insult to injury, Dillinger had used a wooden gun blackened with shoe polish in the escape and stolen Sheriff Lillian Holly's brand new car to make his getaway. Little Bohemia Lodge belonged to Emil Wanetka, and gang members followed him and his family whenever they left the house. But Emil's wife Nan and her brother informed the FBI, who turned up in force a few days later. A fierce gun battle resulted in the deaths of 3 innocent workers and 1 FBI agent, who was shot dead by gang member Babyface Nelson. Amazingly, the entire gang managed to escape. But Dillinger's triumph was short-lived. In July, as he and his girlfriend left the Biograph Cinema in Lincoln Park, Chicago, he was ambushed by the FBI and shot dead in the street.